next segment is brought to you by the Frankels. If you've been injured in a car or truck wreck, call the Frankels first, 214 or 817-333-3333. There is never an out-of-pocket cost. They only get paid when you win. The Frankels are the go-to car and truck wreck attorneys in Dallas as we are live in spring training. The report last night, Caleb Downs, maybe a partially torn meniscus in one of his knees and a degenerative ACL. So the question everybody is asking is, could Caleb Downs fall to this team, that team? I just saw a story with the Rams, and they're right behind you. They're asking that out in Los Angeles. And, you know, if he did fall, would you still want to take him? And yeah. I think this is a spot where you got to trust what your doctors are telling you.
Yeah, I would. I'd take him. I mean, to me, there's listen. I think the Cowboys are going to be very comfortable with this one. I'm sure that Dr. Cooper, who's one of the best surgeons in the country. This very much reminds me of situations that I know I've been in before, with whether it's a Larry Allen or or Jeremiah Trotter, or you just gotta trust your doctors, but you also got to know that if you're in a situation where those guys are available, man, you've got to do your due diligence on all of it. I mean, you've got to bring him in, and you've got to do the physical on him again, and you got to go through and listen, he hadn't missed any time with this thing.
No.
It's not like it's, and I talked about Jeremiah Trotter, and I give Jeff Lurie some credit for this one, the owner from the Eagles. The doctors at the time go, hey, I can't tell you, Brian, if he's going to play 10 games or 10 years. And Mr. Lurie said, if we like this guy that much, let's draft him. What are we doing here?
There's been a lot of degenerative knee guys that have had successful careers, including our very own Ron Leary.
Ron Leary was one of, and I'll say this, though. Listen, I have a feeling that the Cowboys are going to be very comfortable with this particular player if he's available. I don't see that being an issue. Now, like I say, you're talking to some teams that I believe that the team I believe maybe flagged this. They're trying to get some clarification, was maybe the Bears.
Okay.
Picked this one up. But I've talked to two teams already that are like, no, we don't have it that way. So, there's, you feel like we were talking about earlier, you're getting ball sacked, or you're getting, or is this really something, if I get two or three other teams that say, no, there's not a problem, then I'm, these doctors and trainers all look at these players completely different.
Sure. Yeah.
Completely different. I mean, and I said the story about Larry Allen, when we were sitting there and our doctor in Green Bay failed him on a physical rotator cuff problem. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's going to have, sorry, you can't do this, can't do that. And then every year we played Dallas in the playoffs, Ron Wolf would walk down to the doctor and go, hey, see the 73? He's going to kick our ass today.
Yeah, rotator cuff's looking pretty good.
Yeah. So you just gotta trust the doctors. I remember, you guys remember a guy, Dawson, you might remember, Sean Rogers, defensive tackle for the Lions.
Yeah.
Okay. We're sitting there in the draft, and this goes way back again. Sean Rogers, University of Texas, second round. He's got a toe problem, right?
Bunion?
Well, it's got some kind of metal in it or something. The bunion's more of a back thing, I think, where the toe kind of gets jetted out. I have that problem all the time.
Yeah, where the big toe,
the big toe goes out. But this was something that he had problems within. And I'll never forget, like Jim Maurer, the trainer, and Jim's one of the best ones still with the Cowboys. Jim's like, tell him, well, we can't draft him because of this. Can't draft him, can't draft him, can't. And we get on the clock, and Jerry looks at Jim and goes, tell me one more time why I can't take this guy. Please.
Metal in his toe?
He had like hardware and stuff. Yeah, an operation and all that. And Jerry looked at me and goes, Jim, tell me one more time why I can't draft this guy. And he went on and had a nice career. Yeah. So you just don't know how it's all going to play.
On the other side of that, you do have Leighton Vander Esch's neck, who some teams didn't want to take.
That's true.
And the Cowboys are like, well, we have no problem with it. I think the concern is based on what I'm reading.
Smith, the linebacker, too.
Yeah, Jalen Smith. That was an all-time mistake. And then they compounded it by giving him a contract. A second contract. So congratulations to Jalen Smith for pulling that together and kind of dragging one leg into being a serviceable linebacker enough to get paid by the Cowboys. That was job well done. Maybe nobody has ever wanted it more and pulled off the unthinkable. It's kind of a miracle that he was able to play as well as
drop
he did.
Foot.
Yeah, drop foot. And he was managing to kind of get the job done out there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until Dan Quinn, was it Dan Quinn that said, what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah,
and they finally moved on. But anyway, my point being, some of the reading that I was doing about these two conditions, right, is that when I looked up deteriorating ACL, it said one of the side effects of that can be a torn meniscus, because you're losing the integrity of the structure and how things cushion each other and support each other. And if the ACL is deteriorating, it can cause extra stress on the meniscus. And certainly I'm not a knee doctor. I can only read about this stuff and tell you what I've read. But, being the injury paranoia guy that I am, I would think if the meniscus was caused by the degenerative ACL, I don't think we should be taking him at 12. Yeah, is that crazy?
No, it's not crazy. If that is all true and real, and that's what your doctors are seeing and saying, then no, I don't think that's worth taking for the same reason. Like apparently they're not going to be in on Jermod McCoy. Like they need a guy that can hit the ground running and have no concern that he's got a problem that he's bringing with him. You never know what's going to happen on a play-to-play basis, but you don't want to have something that's already hindering you when you step on the field, for as good as Caleb Downs is. But if your doctors are saying, no, everything's fine, then please let him fall to 12.
And I would imagine the doctors in there have seen everything. They're so aware. They have layers and layers of knowledge about how the knee works and these different conditions can, impact things. But this might be something where you got to start going to knee specialists, that your regular guys who you might have on staff that are looking at things are becoming aware now that, hey, a team is looking at it like this. Do we need to drill down further, ask more expertise, and get a better understanding of it? And it might evolve. But Pat McAfee has talked with a number of teams throughout the day, and he has said that he hasn't talked to a single team yet that would let this news impact their board, or would let his medicals from the combine impact their board when it comes to Caleb Downs. So, maybe he will be taken. And at this point, I would like it to be somebody else's issue. If there's anything not perfect structurally with his knee, hopefully, a team in the top 10 or 11 is still looking at him, because we're starting to play this game. If you did lose McCoy over the weekend and then you lose Caleb Downs,
there's
it's
two
like
defensive players right off the board.
How good's the player going to be available at 12?
Yeah.
If you told me both those guys are kind of out for medical reasons, I have a lot less confidence in the 12th overall pick. And I said earlier in the show, I think maybe it's time to start looking at offensive players.
Jeff Cav and I did Trusted Tape this morning, and we were talking about this, and he was pretty. Ooh, it came back straight back. He was like, with the way all this is kind of the news is cycling right now, he's like, I'll just trade the 12th pick for Crosby.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't even flinch.
Ooh, I like that.
He just said, "Listen, if you're going to tell me I'm just going to lose two of my better defensive players, and I'm going to maybe have to draft an offensive player here, why don't I just give up 12 and just and worry about a defensive player at 20?"
Yeah. If that would get it done right now and win you the bidding, I've been saying for a while now, I'm just putting 20 on the board and letting the Raiders know if that's good enough to get them. But in light of that news, I think that's pretty clever.
Yep.